Hey guys, sorry it's been a while since I put up a video, but I've been up to all sorts of probably not vintage radio related stuff. So this is a HP Reliant PC that I got from one of my sons a couple of years ago, and it died. So I've been fixing that. I didn't bother videoing any of it, but it turned out to be a faulty electrolytic on the motherboard. Surprise, surprise, that caused the motherboard to die. Graphics card also died, so I'm working on that. I might show you that in a bit. It's not finished yet, but I'm optimistic that hopefully it'll work. I put a temporary graphics card in this thing for now. But I sort of jumped the gun and I put Windows 8 on it, and I can't really find any Windows 8 drivers for the rest of this, so I'll probably have to go back to Windows 7. My inkjet printer totally died. Decided to spew ink all over the inside of the machine. And so initially I thought, oh okay, it's going to be a messy cleanup job, but I can do that. Anyway, when I looked into it, it turned out to be way too much like effort that you might never get payback on. So I thought, yeah, it's been around a while, so time for a new printer. So I splashed out and got myself a laser printer because I thought that'd be handier for doing PCBs and decals and stuff. And so there is the laser printer, which works quite well. Connected to my main production machine. So this is the graphics card. I'm not exactly sure. It's a Radeon, ATI Radeon something or other. And so in the PC, the fan didn't look to be running. The thing was absolutely red hot, burn your hand to touch. And so I took it out of there. I took the plastic cover off this heatsink fan assembly and found it was totally blocked up. So even if this fan was running, there was no air getting through this heatsink assembly. So either the fan was running and there was no air, or the fan wasn't running. Either way, it was bad news. So all cleaned up, but I didn't have any heatsink compound to put it back together. And whereas the actual top of the chip, you can see, is mirror smooth, this little part of the heatsink here, you can see the milling cutter marks on it. If I can get to the right angle, there we go. So this one is not particularly lapped or anything, so I don't have any heatsink compound. It's on its way. I'll hopefully have it tomorrow. So I'll put all this back together. I put in 9-volt battery just across the fan and it runs fine, so hopefully the fan's okay. I'll find out when I put it back if the driver circuitry is okay. So I'd say we have best a 50-50 chance that this will work. I hope it does, because the one that's in there is pretty old, and so I can't even find Windows 7 drivers for it. It only has like XP drivers, and we don't want to go back that far. Right, heatsink compound arrived. Hopefully this is as much heatsink compound as I'll ever need for the rest of my days. I thought I'd put it on here because its surface is less machined than the surface of the chip itself. So there we go. Phew, thought for a minute I'd have a screw left over. That would not be acceptable. Okay, there we go. No bits left over. So here it is, all back together, and we'll pop it in the PC and see, was the heat damage it suffered fatal, or has it got a couple of more hours of life left in it? So, success! Here is the card back in the PC, and everything seems to work okay. This PC has basically been essentially overheated to a fairly significant degree, mainly because of ingress of dirt and dust which blocked up most of the cooling. However, there is also the design of this graphics board is a little bit leaves something to be desired, because the end plate, which you probably can't see, the end plate, it's a dual slot end plate, but there are no slots in it to let the air out. So what you have here is all the air from the heatsink on the card goes out the end here. And like where my finger is right now is extremely warm, and all that air is just blowing straight onto this end plate. And instead of having vents here to let it out, it just reflects off the plate back into the box, which is pretty poor design from my point of view. So, assuming all is well, I may probably just cut some holes along here to let that air out, because yeah, this end plate gets really hot and there's no need for it at all. So here is the PC all resurrected, from completely dead to basically back in action, and it would have all gone on the dump, really just because of this little guy right here. So here is the little Electrolytic with the bulged up cap on the end, and the plastic at the other end, sealing at the other end, started to come out as well. So yeah, happy with that so far. Still a lot of testing to do, and I'm missing a couple of drivers that I'm having trouble finding on the HP website, but I'll continue my search till I get all the drivers, because until I have all the drivers, this thing won't be as stable as I want it to be. But hey, we're done for now. I think that's a reasonable fix. That is another project I've been working on. This is an Indonesian musical instrument. I'm not sure how you pronounce the name. It's Kasapi or something like that. I'll put the spelling on the screen. But again, it belongs to my son, and all these tuning pegs had sort of suffered damage in transit, and so I put it back together. This is not what you'd call very sophisticated lutherie, but it's effective. It has 9 strings, and they all tune to the same note. So it's it gives you that resonance and that loudness, and then you have these keys that essentially just bar across the 9 strings. So another project to do on this is to see if I can electrify it in some way, so you can plug it into the amp. And probably, given the small size of this hole here and the fact that this bridge is all doesn't look to be removable in any way, so I don't think it's realistic to put a conventional pickup in that hole, and I don't think I can think of any reasonable way of putting a piezo pickup in there anywhere. So it's probably going to be soundboard transducers connected to some sort of a little external preamp. So that's been keeping me busy. And yeah, a little bit of a change of plan on the my SG guitar as well. Talk about that for a minute. So I've had a bit of a change of heart about how to finish this project off or to move it along. I decided rather than spend a lot of time getting the neck to look perfect, that I would do the same way you do with a radio, that you get it working first, and then if it works properly, then you can restore it all. So I'm going to put it all together and see if it plays okay. If it plays okay, then I'll do the neck properly. I've come up with an alternative strategy of how to do that, which involves a lot of work, so definitely not going to do it unless this little bird sings nicely. So okay, more to come on that. You may remember a little while ago I talked about this little component tester I put together and how it was able to detect an FET transistor okay. Didn't seem to be able to display the results properly. So I thought I'll get a proper transistor tester. So here we go. This is a transistor tester of a similar type. Much bigger screen for a graphic output. It's got a little removable IC holder for holding your component in place, and it's got these little pads as usual for testing surface mount devices if you're into that sort of thing. So if I stick a transistor in it, you get results like this. So it gives you a nice graphic of the component and the key characteristics, which is collector, emitter, base, the gain, and the forward voltage, and so on. So very nice. However, if you put an FET in this, it doesn't even recognize it. It just calls it a regular ordinary transistor with a collector base emitter. So yeah. So but it does check all the other diodes and all the rest of it. The other downside with this is when it doesn't have the flying leads with the little clips on the end, it's only good for testing these little baby type of components. It's no good for trying to test like power transistors or any of the big formats like this, etc. So yeah, I have to see what I'm going to do with this guy. Not sure yet. But yeah, that's a little disappointing. I was kind of hoping this guy would be better at doing different types of transistors. But there you go, learning as we go here. So last little item for this segue. Here's the latest acquisition for the workshop. So I've invested in a fairly decent soldering setup. So this is by Metcal. And so it comes basically with the power supply unit that does the heating. It has 2 channels, so it'll take 2 soldering irons. The irons themselves are somewhat different than what I'm used to, certainly, because what would normally be just a short tip in these is actually a long cartridge that goes all the way down the handle. So here's another one. This one has got a much smaller tip on the end for PCB type stuff. And this one has a bigger tip on the end for doing more valve or tube type stuff. As you can see, the heating element that runs down doesn't actually touch the sides of the handle here. So this remains completely cold. And it heats pretty much instantaneously. So yes, after my troubles trying to do soldering on that PC motherboard, I got some feedback on the forums that this is the sort of setup that you need if you want to do this seriously. So we will find out. It also comes, this particular one for the second channel, it comes with a desoldering gun, which you have to rig up to a compressed air source. I haven't messed with this thing at all yet because I need to rig up my little compressor and stuff. But yeah, this whole system of course comes with an endless supply of these cartridges, tools and tips of different diameters and everything else. So expectations are set high that we now have everything that we need when it comes to soldering. Okay, I think that's it for this one. I do have some radio projects coming up, but I'm not exactly sure when, because one set is actually still in Germany and the other one is actually in Ireland, and I'm not quite sure when it'll get to me. But the Irish one will be a bit like that Pi P53 I did. I have to completely rebuild a new cabinet, so that should be a big project when that one shows up. But yeah, so that's it for now.